Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable advisors from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Tony Adamo. He's the co-founder of Wealth Advisors Who Care. Tony, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure being here.
Tony, tell me a little bit about your work, and specifically, who are the types of folks that you specialize in helping?
Great. Well, thank you for that question. I've been doing what I'm doing for 32 years. The firm that I have has been established for 4 years. But basically what we do, as our name indicates, we're wealth advisors. So our demographic or our target market is really two specific niche markets. One is small business owners. The second is, if you're not a small business owner, you're a person that's probably within 5 to 10 years from retirement and are looking for some guidance, especially I think that with the pandemic that's hit, it has really shook people to their core. And they realize that they need somebody like myself that is not only a wealth advisor, but we are accredited investment fiduciaries. So we have to put our clients' interests before our own.
Let's talk about that for a minute. This recent pandemic, has it done anything to shift the advice that you give or the strategies, or is it simply a change in mindset from your prospects and clients? What has occurred as a result of the pandemic?
It's all of the above that you just mentioned, Mark. I think prior to the pandemic, as you know, for the last since the 2009, when we had the financial crisis, the market has done extraordinary. We've had some correction, but we really haven't had a crash. And then then came the pandemic, and then in March of 2020, we saw the stock market go down about 30 to 40% within 3 weeks, and people really haven't experienced that. I've been in the industry since 1987. I started in October 1987, which was infamous for the Black Monday crash of the market, where it went down 22% in one day. Well, 30% in 3 weeks for people who haven't experienced that really shakes you up. And so people are reaching out to us because they realize that maybe I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe I do need some professional help. So what we try to stress is there's two phases of retirement. There's the accumulation phase where you're saving money. And then once you get to what I call the mountaintop, that's like climbing a mountain, where they're or within 5 years of the mountaintop, your strategy to get up the mountain is completely different than coming down the mountain. They're now in a distribution stage of your life. And so people really are looking for answers for two questions. One is, can I retire? Is the first question. The second question is, okay, well, now that I can, or if I can, how do I generate a paycheck? How do I replace my paycheck now with money coming out of my assets, as well as other sources of income besides Social Security? So really, I think the biggest value that we provide our clients is twofold. One, we provide them clarity of where they are today, but more importantly, we provide them a blueprint of how to successfully get through retirement successfully.
So you mentioned that realization that maybe I don't know what I'm exactly doing here. That implies that maybe people thought they knew what they were doing before.
Right.
Is there a lot of like misinformation or myths out there that might sabotage people's success or lead people to think that they really know how to do this themselves?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, and don't get me wrong, what I do as a profession can be done by an individual, except it takes time and experience to become really good at it. I mean, especially now with the internet and self-directed accounts, low trading costs, there's plenty of information. For instance, we're independent advisors, so we utilize Charles Schwab, Fidelity, other institutions to custody our assets for our clients. And they provide tremendous educational information. So if you have the time, you can do it yourself. But I always ask the question, is that what you want to do in retirement? Do you want to spend time looking at the market every day, making adjustments, looking at what's going on in the economy, interest rates, everything? Or do you want to spend your retirement traveling, enjoying your family? I've had finance professors who thought that that's what they wanted to do in retirement, and basically said, no, that's not what I wanted. I did this in my entire life. I'll hire somebody like yourself, who I trust, to do that, so I can spend my retirement what I want to do. So
Yeah, personally, it sounds dangerous to me. I mean, I imagine we could all cut our own hair, but I'd be afraid to see the outcome
sure.
if I tried to do that.
Or even being a brain surgeon.
Yeah, I could buy a stethoscope, but I'm not going to go saying I'm a
Sure.
doctor.
So yeah, so it takes and the other thing is, besides actually managing the money, I mean, we are financial planners, so we don't just look at their investments. I always tell clients, you can have all the money in the world, okay, but the number one thing really you need to take care of is your health. And I give the great example of the late great Steve Jobs. He was a very wealthy man, but with all the wealth in the world, was not able to take care. His health deteriorated and passed. So we look at everything. We look at making sure you're not only fiscally in good shape, but physically in good shape, as well as we also plan for what I call the what ifs in life. What if you become incapacitated? Who's going to handle the finances? What if you prematurely pass away? Do you have things in place to make sure that who you want to leave your assets to, whether it be family members, charities, what do you have in place to ensure that that actually happens? So we look at, I consider ourselves financial life managers, not just their wealth.
Great insight. When you start working with folks, have you identified any common big mistakes people often make, or any pitfalls that they inadvertently fall into by making a common mistake? What have you seen?
A couple of them. One is, first of all, waiting too long to plan for the retirement. I always tell clients the best day to plan for retirement was either yesterday or today. Don't procrastinate, because the sooner you plan, you can greatly increase the probability of success. If you wait 6 months before you want to retire and then realize I can't, well, guess what? You're going to have to work longer or drastically reduce your lifestyle. But if you plan within 10 years, let's say, and let's say you're not on track, there's things you can do. You can save more money, you can cut expenses, so you have time to make any adjustments. The second thing is that people, big mistake, people think that I have to have 100% of my money in the stock market to be successful in retirement. But that's not the case. That's not the case at all. So we spent a lot of time in the beginning of the relationship to find out, first of all, what's important to you. What do you want to do in retirement? What does that look like for you? And then the last thing we actually talk about is their investments. Because one thing that I've realized doing this for as long as I have is that people will not make a change if it's a small change or if it's a small problem. They'll procrastinate. They'll kick it down the road. But if you identify areas in their life that, if they don't make a change, can dramatically impact negatively their life, in a couple of different areas, estate planning, incapacity, they'll make a change, and they'll make the change with you because they realize we take things from a different perspective. Most people, when they sit down with a financial advisor, the first thing they're going to talk about is what? Their investments. That's the last thing they talk about, because if you don't have everything else, squared away, like I just mentioned before, what does it matter how much money you have if you become incapacitated or you prematurely pass away, and if you don't have the proper protection in place for your family, it doesn't really matter. So we take things from a different perspective.
So, Tony, what inspired you to get into this field and help people with their finances? How did you get started?
Yeah, it's a long story, but I'll give you the abridged version. When I was 22 years old, I was in the U.S. Army as a second lieutenant, and I got sent one of these mailers in the mail, direct mail, for a free steak dinner. And I said, well, I'm single at the time, free steak dinner, maybe I'll learn something. So, and I did. I started investing at 22 years old, uh, systematically every month, and I saw my money grow. That was during the go-go 80 before the crash in 87. And so when I migrated from the military and also a previous civilian career, I was looking for something that I enjoyed doing, but I also people. I tell people all the time, if I was not an advisor, I'd probably be a teacher because I love to educate people, um, and I pride myself on that. So when I decided to change careers, I looked for things that I enjoyed doing, and I saw, in about a decade period of time, my money grows substantially. So that's when I decided I want to. That's what I want to do for a career.
Well, thank you so much for your service. And I really appreciate that you're an educator and advocate for the success of your clients, because that's exactly what we look for on the show as well. Tony, before I ask you my last question, for folks that know that they've got to get their financial houses in order but haven't quite started yet, what would you say is the most important thing that people should consider when choosing an advisor to work with?
That's a great question. Um, in our industry, so many people say they're this, they're that, and there's great people in our industry, but there's also some not so great people in our industry as well. Take advantage of people. So the first thing is, and you can look this up on a lot of different websites. First of all, find out what their credentials are. Are they a fiduciary like myself? Are they a certified financial planner? There's all kinds of designations. That's the first thing. The second thing is how long they've been doing it. I always tell clients that if your advisor started in this industry after April of 2009, it wasn't until March of 2020 that they actually experienced a crash in the market. Okay, so get somebody who has experienced that type of volatility, more importantly, but help clients through that. A lot of our job is psychology. We is behavioral finance, and that is the other thing I forgot to mention, which I think is important, is that get somebody that establishes your relationship with them with a financial plan. If someone doesn't know a financial plan, I would walk away from them because they're only concerned about your investments. You need to look at the total picture. So those would be the things that I would look for. Someone who's a financial planner first, an investment advisor second.
Great insight. I appreciate that. Tony, for folks listening now who would like to speak with you, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Well, great. You can go to our website, which is www.wealthadvisorswhocare.com. Or if you're, our phone number is 727-230-3800. And I'm the co-founder of the company. My business partner's name is Chris Ritacca, Ritacca.
Tony, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today. And I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate the time, and happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays. That was Tony Adamo. He's the co-founder of Wealth Advisors Who Care. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.